The Clippers are still on pace for the ugliest 2-0 ever. Their ugliest will haunt your dreams forever, as will mine. It's Halloween ClipperBlog Live. Fred Katz with Jack Winter in LA, who did not dress up. Jack, you're letting me down.
Fred, as we've discussed before all day throughout text, preparing for this momentous occasion, I went to Target today and to try and get a costume for this very thing. $30 M&M costume. I couldn't justify it. It was the last adult costume they had. I wasn't going to squeeze into a toddler's Captain America costume. I think this is the safest way to go.
But here's the question now. Were you going to squeeze into a beautiful dress? Which just really, how do you feel about my thighs right now? What are you thinking?
I'd like if you hiked it up a little bit. It's late. I don't think anyone would mind. I think it's fine.
I told you at some point. I think I'm gonna start lotioning my legs at some point during this episode. I feel like that's.
Oh, it's a great call. I do that. It's a nervous tick. I do that on webisodes and podcasts and stuff already. So.
Let's talk Clippers and Lakers and general horribleness that has been the quality of play in these first two Clipper games. The Clippers won this one 118-111, and don't let the score fool you. This was not a pretty offensive game. I have no idea how, 229 points were scored during this game because there was not a lot of good offense on either side. What happened tonight? What were your general thoughts of why tonight just kind of both sides just look like they, I guess the Lakers have looked all three games like they haven't had it. But on the Clippers side specifically, especially after an ugly game one as well.
Well, you talked about the points and how there was almost 230 combined points between these teams, and I'm looking at the advanced numbers right now. Fred, guess what the Clippers' offensive rating was for this game tonight?
Clippers' offensive rating, I am going to say, I'm going to guess it was probably like 112.
Guess high.
It was probably really good. I'm going to say 112.
118.8, Fred. The Lakers was 111.8. And I have no idea what I just watched for 2.5 hours. Apparently, I know nothing about basketball. It seemed like a slow it down, ugly game. Neither team could figure out offense. The Clippers were extremely stagnant. It just seemed like Blake post up after Blake post up. And as we'll discuss later, Blake obviously did a very good job with those. He ended up with 39 points. I think it was 13 to 23 from the field. But really just ugly offense despite the Clippers' success, and certainly not encouraging despite the win and their point total.
Well, let's talk about the Clippers' defense, because honestly, the offense, as we said, it was ugly, but at least they were putting up points, right? But the defense was kind of really, really bad considering what we saw them progress to at the end of the year, to the point that Chris Paul was guarding Kobe Bryant late in the game, which is not really something that you want to see. What did you think were the defensive issues tonight?
Well, there's something about the Chris Paul-Kobe thing real quick. Chris Paul is the guy, the Clippers, and he does it by his choice as well. He takes breaks every February. He just sits down to take a break because he's older. He's had some knee pain. He's had some hamstring issues, and they're asking him to defend Kobe Bryant. Sustainable. It's not a sustainable thing, and nothing the Clippers can count on. Despite Paul's success doing it tonight. That's nothing you want to see. And the reason they had to do it is because Doc was so unhappy with how things were going offensively that he went with J.J. Redick and Jamal Crawford, I think for the last 8 or 9 minutes of the entire game. So that's obviously going to be something that plagues the Clippers all season long defensively. And then, DeAndre and Blake, as much as we talk about how Blake has improved especially, and obviously everyone knows DeAndre, he was 3rd in Defensive Player of the Year voting last year. They still aren't quite on a string, and they still miss some rotations every now and then on pick and rolls and stuff like that, and deciding when to switch and when to not. So yeah, they need to get better, obviously.
Yeah, DeAndre just I personally did not have DeAndre as a top 3 defender last year. He was a very good defender last year, but I thought guys like Ibaka, Noah, even Hibbert, though he was system defendant, had better seasons than he did, and it was because DeAndre, when he's at his best, is amazing, and he is a top 3 defender when he's at his best, but he'll occasionally have games like this, and I thought DeAndre progressed last year to becoming a top 5 defender, but at the beginning of the year, he was playing like this. At least, I think Clippers, the optimistic side, I think Clippers fans can take solace in the fact that last year's Clipper defense looked terrible in November as well, and the scouting report and general thoughts on the Clippers the first month and a half of the season was this defense is not at all good enough to win a championship with. I want to say they were bottom half of the league 6 or 7 games into the season in defensive rating, with a really high defensive rating, up over like 108 or 107, something like that. And they were lingering around 19th or 18th in defensive rating that climbed up to top 10 by the end of the year. DeAndre got better. They started to hit rotations, better communication, getting used to Doc's defensive coaching. At the same time, when Barnes is struggling so much as a one-on-one defender as Kobe, and Kobe had some amazing moves in the first 3 quarters tonight, but when Barnes is just getting annihilated on defense, that leaves a serious problem because that's supposed to be your one stopper. And when you can have no qualms about playing Crawford and Redick, who are offensive-minded players late in the game, you've got a problem because the guys are going to score on that late in the game. And when you're leaving Jordan Hill just wide open in mid-range, making him look like LaMarcus Aldridge, I mean that's a weird strategy.
Yeah, Fred, you or I could make consecutive, 3 or 4 14-foot jumpers in a row if DeAndre Jordan was playing 8 feet off of us. I don't think we'd be totally shell-shocked if that happened to us. And so the fact that Jordan Hill did it, that's not very surprising. Another thing that really bothered me about the Clippers' defensive performance tonight, on I think 3 occasions, Carlos Boozer faced up Blake, faked one way, and then faked right, and then went left. Everyone knows Carlos Boozer likes to go left. John Barry was just hammering it home during the broadcast, and there was just nothing Blake could do. That's probably symptomatic of some focus issues that the Clippers are having right now on defense, and I think part of that's just the fact that it was a long off season, obviously, and once you get back into the flow of things, that might not be an issue. But the Clippers don't have that Kevin Garnett-like defensive captain on the back line is going to cover up those issues. So it falls on the individual defenders to make those calls and correct those mistakes, and they didn't tonight.
Right. I think you have a really good chance of DeAndre getting better throughout the season. I think it'll probably happen again. I think he's going to be a better defender than he was last year by the end of the year. But he hasn't been great for 2 straight games. I don't think it's a trend, but it's been a struggle for the first couple of games. I think the biggest worry that I have though is the rebounding. Is something that's going to be consistent. Their defensive rebounding is really poor because the wings don't defend. And the biggest worry for me is that when you're keeping DeAndre in the paint and not sending him out to guard Jordan Hill at 14 to 17 feet, and Jordan Hill is getting those wide open shots because of that, if you're DeAndre, you better block out everybody on your side of the paint. And he did not do a wonderful job of boxing out tonight. The Lakers didn't pull down an inordinate amount of rebounds, but they did get a lot of clear offensive rebounds, which the Clippers should have gotten because they missed the block out or something along those lines. And that's an issue. If you're not going to send your center away from the paint, he better clear out the rim. And Blake Griffin's got to do it too. And the wings have to come in and rebound as well, which is something that we haven't really seen. And we talked about it last night about how CDR and Crawford and Redick are all statistically below average rebounders for the positions that they're playing right now. And it's a problem on this team, which could manifest especially when they play teams like the Grizzlies and those sorts who are really, really strong teams in the glass.
Yeah, and CP even said it last night post game. He mentioned, or I think it was David Aldridge at TNT, mentioned how Doc has really been concerned with rebounding, and that was a focus of theirs all offseason long, and they didn't do a good job against the really, really undermanned Thunder last night. And again tonight. And CP said that it takes all 5 guys, and that because DeAndre led the league in rebounding last season, and he has such great advanced rebounding numbers that it's easy to just rely on him. But you can't do that in basketball. It's a 5-man game. All those other 4 guys got to do it. And Blake, the onus obviously falls on Blake too. Despite the fact that DeAndre is there to gobble up all those boards, he needs to block out. He needs to be physical. He really needs to commit, despite the fact that he's, taking a much bigger role offensively too. So that's a lot to ask of a guy like Blake, but I know you and I and a lot of other people now consider him one of those top 4, 5, 6 guys in the league. That's something that he should be able to handle.
I agree. Yeah, you can't. It's got to be just insane boxing out. Is there a way the Clippers can can fix the rebounding issues? Is there something that they could do schematically or personnel wise, not necessarily making a trade or anything, but with staggering lineups or something like that, which could help just the rebounding issues that they seem like they're going to have for the season?
I mean, I just don't know what you do because, as you and I have talked about ad nauseum, tonight and really all summer long, we've been talking about how the Clippers are so unathletic on the wing. And that's going to be an issue for teams, especially against teams like the Thunder that have really athletic wings. Even without Kevin Durant, guys like Perry Jones, Roberson, Lance Thomas, guys like that. And that killed the Clippers last night. And so when you're asking JJ Redick or Jamal Crawford or CDR or even Matt Barnes, Matt Barnes is a shell of the athlete he used to be. That's going to be a problem. When you put so much responsibility on Blake and DeAndre's shoulders, and they kind of rely on their athleticism, more than fundamentals in terms of rebounding, the Clippers' problems on the wing are going to be exacerbated. And I really think that's what you saw, not only tonight, but also last night.
All right, this is the second night in a row I've done this, that the Clippers have won a game, and we've started off with like 10 minutes of negative Clipper talk. So we got to get into something positive. I think that says something good about the Clippers, about where we were with the Clippers 4 years ago when they were, winning 30 games, and it was a great year. And if they lost a game by 5, it would start with positive talk. So at least expectations are good. But let's talk about something positive, because you can't win a game without something positive. Blake Griffin had 39 points tonight on only 23 shots. Got to the line 12 times in the second half. He was 2 for 2 from 3, including a step-back wing 3. He had a corner 3 where he spot up comfortably, didn't hesitate in hitting it. These weren't late in the shot clock threes. These were real threes. Blake looks like he's expanding and changing his style. I know you wrote a great power forward piece at Dime Magazine, which I highly recommend to anybody who might not have read it. And you said Blake was the best power forward in the league. What is the way that you've seen him play over the first 2 games made you think about how he's been? And does it change your opinion on him in a negative or positive form?
I hate to say it because, you said it's time to talk about positives, but actually these first 2 games kind of, if it was going to change my opinion either way, which it doesn't, but I would only look at it in a negative light, because the Blake Griffin that I fell in love with as a player, and I've been high on Blake for a long time, but as a guy who I really thought was one of the several best players in the league, was when Chris Paul was out of the lineup last year, and he was playing the role of ball handler and playmaker, and really relying on his speed and quickness and agility and coordination, as opposed to the power and strength that he relied on tonight against Carlos Boozer. So what more post-ups, more face-ups, less relying on on his much improved jumper, as we've discussed, and I don't want off the dribble step back 18-footers that he likes to shoot off the glass from the left block. I'd love to see Blake in pick and rolls, but that's really hard with DeAndre on the floor, because where do you put DeAndre if Blake's the one setting the ball screen for Chris Paul that doesn't space the defense very well? But yeah, obviously I love Blake. I love what we've seen out of his jumper, not only tonight but also in the preseason. He seems so confident with it, especially in catch and shoot situations, pick and pop, or if he's just spotting up on the weak side for 3. He looks fantastic. And in terms of overall skills for power forwards, offensively, with the way he's shooting, I'm not sure what else he could ask for from Blake Griffin, especially if he kind of embraces the floor game that he embraced last year when CP was out.
There's one thing I think we do need to talk about with Blake, and tonight I don't think this is going to be a trend, because Blake is a very high IQ player. But tonight specifically, I thought he was a little ball stopping. The Clippers got away from the pick and roll a lot, and you look at his first half specifically, it's great that he's making jumpers. It's awesome, and that jumper looks sick. I mean, it's legitimately good. It's not good for Blake at this point. We're not at the point where we're saying, oh, Blake is learning how to shoot. He's almost there. With that mid-range shot, he's there. It's legitimately good. He's not best in the league, but he's good. He is above average for his position.
Anymore. It's absolutely effortless. You can tell how much work he's put in with it. The hitch is almost completely gone. He's so on balance all the time on catch and shoot situations, especially. He looks fantastic.
Yeah. But I think he was a little bit reliant on the jumper in the first half. You know, he only had, I think, 2 shots at the rim in the first half. Last night, he had 4 shots at the rim on his 18 field goal attempts. He didn't get to the free throw line in the first half tonight. He got to the free throw line 11 times or 12 times in the second half tonight. I'm pretty sure Doc Rivers said something to him about how you have to get closer to the rim. When he was posting up, he was doing it 9 feet from the hoop. He was starting it with face-offs and then turning face-ups and then turning his back. When he was getting the ball on the outside, he wasn't really going to the hoop very often. That's his strength. Even if you're a great jump shooter, if you're a top 5 finisher at the rim, you got to get there. In the second half, thought he did a much better job of getting to the rim. He honed in, but that's something to watch with Blake, just making sure when he's got that great jumper, when it's going for you, that's awesome, and it's a great threat. And you can see like what he did with Steven Adams last night. He faked the step back, Adams bit, and then he just went to the rim and got himself a layup. And when guys are respecting it, that's why having the jumper is so important. But you don't want to fall in love with the jumper. You want to score at the rim if you can. He did a great job of that in the second half. I thought in the first half, the post-ups and that kind of stuff were a little ball stopping. But in general, I thought they took the ball out of CP's hands a lot. He didn't seem very assertive to me.
We talked about this before coming on live here. There were several times in the second half, or even in the first half, where CP was kind of dribbling the ball up the floor and almost skipping. You could tell he was trying to get himself energized and really get going. And offensively, he never did. And I think part of that is just because, like we said, in the second half, they just kept dumping the ball down to Blake with such success. And as we talk about all the time, Fred, I want to see more Blake Griffin, Chris Paul pick and rolls, more side pick and rolls with those guys. I saw one in crunch time tonight, and I can't remember what happened, but I'm pretty sure the Lakers iced it, and Chris threw a nice little pocket pass to Blake, and for some reason I'm just blanking on what happened afterwards, so it almost makes my point irrelevant. But Blake is so good off the dribble, whether he's making plays for himself or for others, and the Clippers need to take advantage of that playmaking ability, and they didn't tonight. And that's not only something that will help Blake, it's something that will help Chris as well, because as Blake gets more and more comfortable with that jumper, the big man who's hedging or even dropping on that pick is going to be far less inclined to pay attention to Chris because Blake's such a threat. So I think more Blake Griffin, Chris Paul pick and rolls would help get Chris going a little bit.
Let's take a user question. I guess you know what? I just realized I had a broom and I got it in my room. I forgot to bring it in. That is so. I could have rode the broom. It would have been great. That's so disappointing. Jack,
it would have been.
Yeah, you're sitting there dressed up as a Californian right now, as a stereotypical Californian. That's what you can be.
That's right.
You got your headband and your beautiful flowing hair. We only have people with great hair on this show now. We got you, Patrick James. It's. I've got my curls. It's rough. It's rough.
No, my hair doesn't have the late night headband in. My God, it is it's like Spencer Hawes' hair on steroids. It's absolutely beautiful, especially just after a wash, which normally comes on Saturdays. So I kind of wish we were doing this tomorrow, but what are you going to do?
I'm convinced, by the by, that the Spencer Hawes, Chris Douglas Roberts combo is the best teammate hair combo in the league. I think it's.
Who were the other candidates? I'm trying to think of some, and I
don't know. I'm just saying.
It's just something you just know. Yeah, it's that obvious. I get it. That makes sense.
Solution is telling me that.
I think you're
Although
right.
I have to say, if any basketball player had this hair, then he would just win on his own. Him and anyone.
Ooh, Evan Fournier has some sick hair this year. Have you watched the Magic at all?
Yes, he's got that tie in the back.
He's got the tie in the back. He's short on the sides. Oh, he's rocking that hard. I'm trying to think of who else. Oh, he and Elfrid Payton. Boom.
Oh.
That's it. That's the one.
Wow. What a call.
Yep, that's the one.
What a call. You totally just shut that down, and you're right. It is Fournier and Elfrid Payton.
I only know because I'm such a fan of Fournier's haircut that I want to do it to myself. But I kind of think you have to have the cachet of an NBA player or a Frenchman to pull that off, and I don't think you can just be, some 6'3" white guy from the Midwest, unfortunately.
I think also, I think if someone came up to you and was like, and said, I really like your hair, and you said, yeah, 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 I just really admire Evan Fournier. I think that would weird people out, regardless of
Right.
whether they know who
Yeah.
Evan Fournier is or not.
I don't think a lot of people would get the reference, unfortunately. Unfortunately.
All right, none of those were reviewer questions, but this is one. How long will it take to hunt down the monster that took JJ Redick's talent? That's from Believe in CDR. I'll ask you in a different form, since we're assuming a monster did not, in fact, take JJ Redick's talent. Redick was 1 for 10 yesterday. Tonight, he was 3 for 9, 1 for 6 from 3. It seems like Matt Barnes' preseason struggles have transferred over to Redick's body. Concern or totally irrelevant 2-game shooting slump?
Totally. What do you think?
I mean, it's obviously a totally irrelevant 2-game shooting slump. I just need to ask.
Yeah. I mean, this. No, this stuff happens after 2 games and 96 minutes of play. A shooter who's as established as Redick, I don't even know what he shoots from beyond the arc for his career. I'm not going to look because it doesn't matter. That guy is a great shooter. I think he's 89% from the line for his career, 91% last night. He's been great from the line, but this season in these first 2 games. But I think he's 2 of 13 from beyond the arc. That's not going to stick. That's nothing. It's absolutely nothing to worry about. In such small sample sizes like this, stuff like this happened. Under a game last night late that he normally hits. I think that they were even both from the corner, from either corner.
Mm-hmm.
He confident those were going in, and they didn't. Something you'll hear NBA coaches say a lot is basketball is a make or miss game. Sometimes you just miss shots, and that's what's happening to JJ right now. And there's absolutely no reason to worry offensively for JJ.
Yeah, if there were a reason to worry about anything after 2 games, which there almost never is, but if there were, it would be because the Clippers were running bad plays for him, or he looked really slow when he was running off screen, so he couldn't get open, or there was some sort of hitch which was never there before in his shooting form. Redick is getting open. He's just as energetic running around screens. He's always in great shape. He has a reputation as being one of the best conditioned players in the league. You hear coaches say that all the time, that he comes in, and he's in midseason form when he comes to the training camp. He outruns everybody, which is very important for him, considering how much he runs on the offensive side of the ball. He's getting open. He's just missed some shots. Not a big deal. I'm sure at some point, very soon, he's going to have a game where he hits 3 or 4 threes, and everyone's going to be saying, why the heck were we worried about J.J. Redick? He's one of the best shooters in the league.
Right. You hear of regression to the mean, but there's something called progression to the mean too, and that's what we're going to see from Redick here. Whether it's in 5 games or could happen on Sunday when the Clippers play next. It's it's going to happen eventually. It's nothing to worry about for his struggles with the first 2 games.
Yes, although the Kings are not exactly known for their defense, but and I'm yet to watch a Kings game. I will watch the Kings game. I will watch one of their games before the Clippers play on Sunday, but supposedly DeMarcus Cousins very good on defense.
Rudy Gay had 40 tonight, and they took it to the Blazers in their home opener. So I'd fret, Clippers fans. The Kings are back, and they may or may not be playing 4-on-5 defense. They may or may not be playing 4-on-5 defense. But he doesn't actually thank God for the Kings and their fans.
I love that 4-on-5 defense could be a thing. I hope they do that. I want to watch that. I think it'd be great.
No way.
I mean, I don't.
It's never going to happen.
So I think it'd be great, and I don't care about results, just because I want to see it. I wanted to make a joke. I wanted to make a joke that the reason the Clippers are already playing 4-on-5 defense because they signed Darren Collison, but I didn't think that would go over well.
I'm sorry I took that one from you. That would have been a good one. Nice.
Yeah, it's the Darren Collison revenge game on Sunday. That's huge.
Hey, he had a couple big playoff moments for the Clippers last year. A couple big playoff moments. In fact, I remember talking about them on this very space with one Fred Katz. But yeah, that was in the past. Now he's a King.
Darren Collison's not a bad player. Darren Collison is just not as good as Isaiah Thomas.
I think the only people debating that are Pete D'Alessandro, DeMarcus Cousins, and Vivek Ranadive. I think everyone else is on the same page you and I are. Here's Isaiah Thomas, and here is Darren Collison. This is what separates them. And imagine there being 20 point guards here, 25 perhaps. That's what separates them.
Yeah. Well, I think we're gonna wrap this up. Jack, tell us what's it like as a Midwesterner living in California. You seem like you've completely taken over everything that exudes California with that haircut.
Well, here's what happened, Fred. As a lot busier than I actually thought if I year ago. Think that. And so that's kind of what I'm going with. I don't think it has anything to do with California, though. Who can say? Perhaps I'm a little more liberal. Perhaps I'm drinking kombucha. Let's just say I am on both those things. NorCal.
Exactly. Well, Jack, you can read Jack's stuff if you're interested, which you should be. You can read them over at Dime Mag. That's going to do it for us tonight. A hauntingly bad 118 to 111 game comes off just fine for the Clippers. They're still 2-0. We're going to be back at you Sunday after Clippers Kings, the Darren Collison revenge game. That one's scheduled for 12:30 Pacific time. Until then, with Jack Winter, I'm Fred Katz. Good night.